all my friends are synths.
When I used to make a lot of music on the Nintendo Game Boy, one of the things I really liked about it was combining the old kind of Nintendo handheld sounds with more modern hardware and effects. So when I was recording, I used to sync up the Game Boy with my DAW. I would record each track separately so I could process them slightly, but then I would record them individually again, and I would run them through hardware effects boxes like my spring delay, what's it called? My space echo and various other bits and pieces to try and give it a wee bit more depth, because obviously you were limited to 4 tracks at that time within LSDJ, and of course one of those tracks was a noise channel, so you couldn't even do anything particularly melodic with it unless you were extremely creative. The other thing I used to do is I would take drum machines and other bits of pieces of hardware when I played live, and I would control them using the MIDI out function in special versions of LSDJ so that I could fatten out my kick drum essentially, because I was never one of these people that was any good at creating big fat kicks or, you know, sculpting drum sounds, unlike some of the more esteemed LSDJ users that you'll find online. Now obviously now I've got the Dirtywave M8, and within the Dirtywave M8 there's a huge amount of power that we didn't have back in LSDJ, and even though the Dirtywave M8 is based on the LSDJ style tracker, in there we've got the Game Boy Wave Synth, or at least a synthesizer engine that's based on the Game Boy. We've got a whole bunch of other synthesis engines, we've got the FM synth, and we can use samples. And this is a bit of a dream come true for me, because it means ostensibly that I can combine the sounds that I really love from the Game Boy with the kind of modern fat drum sounds that I could never write on my own. Now all of this has got me thinking, because I've got all these old tracks that I wrote on the Game Boy and I still have my LSDJ song files for, and if I ever wanted to play them live again, I think it would be a bit of a nightmare, because I would have to go through and check all the MIDI data, check which notes are being sent where, try and remember those commands, remember what hardware I used to use, and ultimately it's a bit of a faff. Whereas if I'm able to recreate some of these songs in the Dirtywave M8, I could get the soul of the songs but also make them sound much better and fresher, and have them all contained within one nice wee package that I could take on a plane, for example, and not worry about having to carry a big box of stuff with me. So that's the kind of project I've embarked on now, and I've been looking through some of these old songs to see which ones might be good to recreate. Unfortunately I was a wee bit lazy and I picked one of the ones off of the closest LSDJ cartridge I had, and as it turns out, it was a bit more tricky than anticipated. Unfortunately, there is no LSDJ song to Dirtywave M8 conversion tool available, although if any smart person wants to create that, then I'll gladly pay you money for the privilege. It does mean that you have to manually copy everything across, and in some ways this is easy with the M8 because it's the same kind of setup and the language and stuff is largely the same as LSDJ, but there are lots of ways in which there are minor differences, and you can kind of figure them out. But what I've discovered to my chagrin is that even me, who had kind of minimal LSDJ skills back in the day, I have used all sorts of trickery and chicanery to squeeze as much noise and as much sound out of the LSD cartridge as possible, and of course just the 3 tracks. And this means that some of the things that I've done on LSDJ don't necessarily really work on the Dirtywave M8, or at least I can't get them to sound exactly the same. And so it's been a wee bit difficult at times, because some of the bits of the song which are kind of critical, at least in my mind, to the sound of the song, I've had to kind of figure out how I can make them again. But I guess the whole point of this is to make them sound fresh and new and not just do the same things over again. So, you know, that's fine. But what I've done is I have reimagined a song called Python in the Toybox, which I released on an album called Liberal Exodus back in 2016. This is one that I did used to play live a lot, and it kinda suffered if I didn't have my hardware drum machines and stuff. Some other songs I could get away with playing live without anything else and it would sound alright, but this one in particular needed a big fat kick drum. So I have reimagined this old song in the Dirtywave M8, which took a fairly considerable number of hours to do, and what I'm going to do now is just play back the 2 of them so you can hear the difference. One thing to note is that the original song that I'm going to play you is the song that was on the album. So this is post-processing, as in it's not coming straight out the Game Boy. There are added kind of sounds in there from effects and stuff, but this is kind of how I would aim to have it sound live. And to be honest, if I was given a straight comparison between the Dirtywave M8 and the Game Boy, then the M8 would just blow it out the water. So my goal is to try and recreate the finished album song, or at least the kind of standard of production there with the M8 just in the one box. And if so, that means that I'll be able to take the M8 live and play songs that I kind of, you know, in the way that I would imagine they should sound on the album. So I'm going to play them both through and you can see what you make of it. And I suspect that I'll probably be doing a few more of these in the future once I kind of muster up the energy to go through the whole process. If there are any developers out there and you're bored and have nothing to do, then why not take up a project to convert LSDNG files over to the Dirtywave M8? I'm sure there would be many of us who would be very grateful.